Warning: the deaths portrayed in the show are real and extremely graphic. Names have been changed to protect the identities of the deceased. Do not attempt to try any of these actions depicted. You will die.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the CNC After Dark podcast. I'm CH,
And I'm Crimson.
and today we're going to be talking about A Thousand Ways to Die, recapped.
A Thousand Ways to Die was a show that ran on the Spike Network from a span of about 2008, 2012. Sadly enough, the show actually did not cover A Thousand Ways to Die. It actually covered about 703 deaths, depending on who you talk to, 702 deaths. One death in season one was controversial. So, I'll let you just decide that. And so I just wanted to kind of go over a couple deaths that, Thousand Ways to Die show, because I used to watch the show all the time after school. I would, watch this along with Silent Library. I would watch it along, my sister would have Jersey Shore playing in the background. So this was like a huge, kind of era for me where I really got sucked into Spike. Deadliest Warriors, another popular show from Spike.
Nice, you got Jersey Shore in the background, so you'll be able to watch people die physically, and then you can die yourself on the inside.
Yep, which I tended to do because I was not a fan of Jersey Shore. I don't like Snooki. I'm sorry. Don't unsubscribe from that, though. Feel free to yell at me in the comments below. But one thing I recognize and remember very well, ever since I started watching the show, was how just ridiculous it was, how goofy it was. And as you heard in the beginning of this podcast, that was actually the intro, the little warning of the show itself that I kind of read off. And it says here that the deaths in the show are portrayed as real and extremely graphic. So I thought these are always real situations. These are not actually real situations. They pretty much were just like the actors hanging out and the writers, and they were all just like, hey, it'd be really cool if we just came up with these really goofy stories based around the ideas of how people would die. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with episode 72, Crying Over Spilled Blood. Like I said, I'm going to cover a couple deaths over that. They usually have about 3 to 4 in an episode. I'm going to start off with death number 425, 10 Ask Anyone. It started off with Matt and Mike. Matt and Mike were two tennis fans who were obsessed with two of their famous, tennis players, and so they would want to try to role play as them, dressing their hair like them, wearing the short shorts like them, kind of just wanting to replicate and be as close as to the players as they can. But the only thing is both of them were absolutely terrible at the game. That doesn't matter though, because they decided, you know what, even though we're awful and we don't really score, we're going to hire our own chair umpire. I learned what that was this episode of Chair Umpires, the guy who sits in the chair and he kind of, counts the points and calls everything that happens in the game. And, Mike was kind of the cool, relaxed guy. He was the ladies' man. Matt was always a Matt was always a hot-headed guy. And, he just wasn't having it because he just kept losing. And instead of taking his frustration out on Mike, having a responsible conversation, talking it out, Matt was just like, you know what? I'm just going to smack my tennis racket on the ground, create a spear out of it, and I'm going to go climb up the tower and kill the chair umpire. The chair umpire noticed what was going on, jumped off the chair. Matt was still on it, fell backwards, and the spear went right through his rectum. It caused ventral exam to happen. That they noticed that a stool just kind of, exploded and bled all over inside his body, or poured all over inside his body. Blood also bled all over his body. So he pretty much tried to kill the chair umpire because he was losing the game. Fell on his broken tennis racket right through his rectum. And yeah, now he's dead. So, and CH, how ridiculous is that? Like, I was watching that. Okay, cool, tennis. How is somebody going to die? I thought somebody was going to have a freak accident. They're going to slip and fall. But no, they get a wooden spike through their butt.
It happens all the time.
I was actually thinking the same thing now that I said it out loud. I miss you, Grandpa. That doesn't even count about another part of episode 72, Chilly Today, Dead Tomorrow, number 233 in the death count. It all started with Mary and Larry, who was going through a tour through the southwestern U.S. desert. They stopped by Chiefs Pridefoot little outpost, and they wanted to buy a couple souvenirs from it. A lot of it was expensive and out of the price range, and Larry was getting a bit upset. Larry noticed that there was actually a basket full of peppers off in the corner, and he was like, you know what? I'm a big pepper guy. I'm gonna go ahead and eat some. Chief Pridefoot, a real Native American, by the way, was like, I don't recommend you do that. He was like, no, I'll be fine. And his wife Mary steps in and is like, don't worry. He won the chili eating contest on the 4th of July at our local church. He knows his peppers. Props to you, Mary, sticking through for Larry. Larry went ahead and decided to go ahead and, grab a pepper and eat it. And he noticed that it was really, really, really hot. And basically Chief Pridefoot was like, I warned you. Larry started getting, really hot, really sweaty, really antsy. He obviously ate a really hot chili pepper, which ended up being a ghost chili, which is recorded around 1,500,000 Scoville units. I don't think they really had that at his church chili eating contest. I mean, my church never had one when I went to church. I don't know how popular that is. But actually, fun fact, we did have a hot sauce chugging contest at my church, though, and I came in second.
Of course you did.
I did not win. Yeah, I wasn't ready at the time, and I'm definitely ready now. So, my previous church, Crimson's previous church, if you hear this, feel free to contact me.
He's ready to suck down some more wieners anytime.
Hot sauce.
Oh.
We could have like hot dogs with it, but that's not just a hot sauce, contest. But, I ended up surviving through that, unlike Larry. Was it the peppers that killed him? I don't know. What happened when Larry ate the really hot ghost chili? He was looking around for something to drink, and he noticed the fridge in the outpost. He was like, okay, I'm going to go grab whatever I can. I'm going to chug this down. And he grabs the bottle and slurps it down. He starts, seizing and foaming from the mouth, his wife screaming, what's happening to him? Larry, in, the midst of him panicking and trying to relieve his, burning pain, he opens up the fridge, grabs a bottle of snake venom that Chief Pridefoot has been collecting for the local university, and chugs the snake venom. As you could assume, the snake venom is what killed him.
So I'm going to talk about one. I used to watch 1,000 Ways to Die when I was a kid all the time, which is probably not the best thing you should watch when you're a kid. But I'd watch that, and I would watch Life Without People, or whatever that was called. And this episode is Season 3, Episode 19. It's called Killing Them Softly. And the segment I want to talk about that I remember is there were these two guys, and they were running like a scam where they would siphon gas, and they were going around and they were siphoning gas, but like they'd swallow a little bit every time they suck some gas out with the tube. So dude's doing that, and he's siphoning the gas, and then they take a break, and he goes to light up a cigarette. Well, when he lights up the cigarette, all the gas like in his stomach ignites, and he just explodes. And I remember that episode when I was a kid. And there was another one that I watched where there was this one dude who he would try to get high off of his own supply, if you will. He huffed methane in order to get high. And what happened was he was doing that, and when he couldn't poop anymore to get high off his own supply, he went and found a porta potty in order to get high off someone else's. And he stuck his head in there, and he suffocated and died from trying to breathe in all the poop.
Rest in peace, other grandpa.
There was another that I vaguely remember, and I'm just going based off of memory. There was this one. It was called Hard Lives, Easy Deaths. And this segment was called, it was Hard Lives, Easy Deaths, Season 1, Episode 2. And this segment was called Wet Dreams, and it was this guy who was banging this chick, and she handcuffed him to a waterbed, and he was wearing her high heels, and she left him there. And when he woke up in the morning, he couldn't get out, so he started like kicking his feet, flailing around. Well, the high heels penetrated the waterbed, and he started to pretty much sink into like the 200-pound waterbed, and he drowned in it. He suffocated in the bed because he was handcuffed to it. He couldn't get out.
I think my first ever episode of Thousand Ways to Die that I watched, I don't know the name of it, but I'm also going off of memory on this one. I remember turning on the TV, and this was 2008, so I was probably like 7 or 8 at the time when the show came out. And I remember turning it on, and it was this really, they really focused on how hot this model was, how hot this chick was in her swimsuit, and how little naughty she was. Hee hee hee. And so they decide, hey, we're gonna get on a submarine. She's gonna go on a submarine trip. She starts going down the submarine, and then there's something in the submarine malfunctions. They're just like all the way under the water in the ocean. They're submerged a lot of feet, and something in the submarine malfunctioned, and the submarine just launches up. And I don't remember. I think it's called the swims or something, where if you rise up too fast, coming from like below water, super deep water, it causes like the carbon dioxide in your body to accelerate and basically like deform your body. And so yeah, I remember they had that little porthole, that little circle window in the submarine. It zoomed in on that and it showed her face just screaming, and then she exploded. And I was like, huh, I think I'm into that.
It's classic.
So,
A Thousand Ways to Die.
Yeah, so I watched more of it.
Just the dumbest shit ever.
There was one where these guys were like, oh my god, look at our garage door. Let's keep going back and forth and have a contest. Who could go underneath the door to the other side the quickest? And eventually they found out when it crushed the guy with the garage door and he died. I also
think I remember that
people can get high off of toads by licking their back from that show. And it didn't really work out for them because they died from licking the toad's back. I also have like a couple other episodes I wrote down just because this show is so stupid, man. Like I love this show. It's way, like, obviously these are like actual real scenarios that people could die from, usually by the method of death, by drinking snake poison, because I noticed that they kind of trick you into thinking one way and then they just totally flip-flop it into another scenario, and it's just so funny. Episode number 86, Caved In, was actually 86. I think it was so low in the number scales because it actually goes back to the caveman times. This episode is focused on Zong, who is a Neanderthal who likes to go foraging for his family every day, mainly to his girlfriend, trying to obviously bring food to the table. He never really got a lot of success, and that particular day, all he could find outside was bones. And while he's still looking around, his girlfriend is actually at the house, and her name is Ugog. And Ugog is, feel how you feel about this. The show described it as the modern woman, and the woman from those times actually weren't that different. All she did was stay at home to complain, whine, and think of new things to nag about. And I was like, huh, interesting, Spike. So yeah, he comes home, Zong does, and he has a bunch of bones that he collected the other day. He has a little bit of raw meat, and Ugog was like, nah, get that shit out of here. We don't do that here. I'm so tired of eating that stuff every day. You're pointless. You have no reason to do anything. I'm tired of living here. Nagging. So she eventually leaves to go spend the night. Zong wasn't actually having his mind in the conversation. His brain was actually focused on his other brain, the brain inside his pants. And he just keeps checking out Ugog. And, he's just sitting there and, the only thing on his mind is, getting boned. Ha 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 ha. So yeah, Ugog is upset about this, and she decides, you know what? It doesn't matter here. You're stupid. You're worthless. You're pointless. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna go to my mom's house. Huh?
I know a guy like that.
Yeah, I can't think of one.
You see him every time you look in the mirror.
Sage, I'm going to find where you sleep tonight. Anywho, find that out on 1,000 Ways to Die. Maybe it's episode 704, or Death 704, where it's just cut off. But she ends up going to stay the night at her mom's house, and Zong is like, this is stupid, it doesn't even matter anymore, and he's just taking rocks, and he's just beating everything up. He just keeps beating rocks up against other rocks, and boom, 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 a spark happened, and actually, a fire started. So Zong was actually like, you know what? this is pretty cool. I got fire now. This is hot. I might as well just throw meat in there. Threw some meat. He was enjoying it, cooking it. But while he was cooking and eating the food over the fire, he kept breathing in all the smoke from the fire, and that is super toxic. So he ended up dying of carbon monoxide poisoning from breathing in the fire smoke while he was eating his cooked meat.
I know
It's just-
an episode I remember. Sorry, what?
I just am flabbergasted, honestly, about these
man.
episodes.
It happens.
It does happen. It probably did happen. Where Zong, you know, I love how it says names were changed to protect somebody's identity. All right, so I guess we'll never know Zong's real name. Maybe it was like Howard.
Yeah, you know, I never even knew that, like, those deaths were just completely fake. I mean, I know that they were crazy, but hey, man, people do some outlandish things. I figured there at least would have been some truth to it. I know that the episode I'm about to talk about now is I don't have the episode name because, like I said, I'm going off of memory because I used to watch this show a lot. There was an episode where this dude was in a pool and he didn't get out, and the pool drain started to like clean the pool. Well, he got sucked to the bottom, and like his ass lined up with the drain perfectly, and it like sucked his intestines out through his butt, and he died from it. And I used to be like terrified of that at the public pool after seeing that. I was like, oh my god, no, I'm not going to the public pool anymore.
I used to try to do it on purpose.
Dang. There is another episode that also scarred me with shaving. There was this like Las Vegas showgirl, and she got home one night and she was shaving her legs with like a rusty razor. Well, she cut herself like on her knee, and on the razor there was a bacteria that causes strep throat, and she ended up getting like a necrosis infection. And she died. Like all of her tissue just died. Like her face literally started falling off. And then that's it. Like she got a necrosis. I think I'm saying that right. It's where like your tissues die.
Yeah, like wastes away. Like
Yeah.
literally decomposes
Yeah.
on you.
She just like decomposed while alive, and she died. And I was scared of
uncle-
shaving forever because of that.
I had an uncle. I don't know if you have any of brown recluses where you are.
I
but they're
am a
super
brown
popular.
recluse.
Oh, okay. Well then.
Oh, you mean like the spider? I
Yeah.
thought you meant like
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't like a recluse, like somebody who lives in like a dark, like a hermit, you know? Like
Oh,
someone
yeah.
who doesn't like going out. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm not a
Yeah.
spider. I'm just, you know, a psychopath.
Yeah, just a recluse. But yeah, my uncle actually was bitten by a brown recluse, and he had probably a baseball-sized hole. You know, feel free if you want to ruin your day a little bit. Look up. I'm not going to attach it to the podcast. Brown recluse bites, and it literally is just like so deep. I mean, it was a couple inches deep in his leg. Like I said, circumference of like a baseball, and it was just wasting away. He ended up making a full recovery, but I think he has like a pretty gnarly scar from where that happened, because it's literally just your skin dying, and
Yeah.
it's like dead, and it's gonna end up killing the rest of you because you know you have a dead thing and you know being a part of your body.
Yeah, as far as I know, there's no like brown recluse here or black widows or anything that could like kill you if you get bit, but we do have like some pretty ginormous wolf spiders that just kind of chill out, do whatever they want. Like we got a Christmas tree one year and it was just covered with wolf spiders. They're like big wolf spiders too. Like you ever see a wolf spider before when they're like big, laid, sprawled out on the ground like
Oh,
spread
I had
eagle?
one today at work. It was so out of place, man. It was like a bunch of little isopods and like gnats, and you see this wolf spider like the size of like his body itself was the size of your thumb.
Yeah, like they're huge.
Yeah.
We get
Thankfully,
them.
they don't do anything though. Like if they bit you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We don't have anything that will like kill you if you get bit by them, as far as I know.
Yeah, because black widows over time, the stigma around their venom, it used to be like, you know, it'll kill a man, but it actually is like, unless you have, you know, a previous condition that already like allows you to be more susceptible to it. If you're a grown adult, like a reasonable weight and height, it's not really going to do anything to you. It'll be a couple hours of like suffering and stuff. If you can go to the doctor if you're worried, but you know, a full-grown adult isn't really in danger of dying from a black
Do you want
widow
to know
bite.
something interesting? Is
Hmm.
and don't fact check me on this, because I don't know if it's true, but I'm like pretty sure those harvestmen, the things that like the daddy long legs, they're not even
Yeah.
really spiders, but I'm pretty sure I heard that they actually have like some of the most deadly venom to a human, but their fangs can't penetrate human skin. So
That's
like,
actually, uh, I read about that not even a week ago, and it actually is just like fake. Like their fangs, you know, you're right, it isn't enough to penetrate skin, but uh, they don't have the, you know, it was something along the lines like they were the most venomous like spider in the whole world or something like that, but they're not even remotely venomous or dangerous to people at
yeah, I
all.
didn't know if it was true or not, but I heard about that, and I was
Yeah.
always like terrified of those things. Like, what if they get on like an open cut and then they bite it?
Yeah, and they're not even spiders either, which is also crazy.
Yeah, and their legs will like grow back. They'll just like rip their leg off and keep walking.
That's crazy. I
I
didn't
think.
even know that.
I think.
Um,
I know that they do rip their legs off if it gets stuck. I don't know if it grows back though.
well, theoretically, I'm going to perform a science experiment, but
Yeah, I'm not a spider
instead
man.
of
I
a
don't know.
instead of a harvestman, it's probably just going to be like my neighbor or something.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know if it grows back or not.
All right. Yeah.
Uh, I read an article as well about a little girl who was swimming in the pool, and she was near like the vent, you know, that like little box off in the corner, like near the upper part of the pool
Yeah, the
that
filter.
filters everything out. Yeah, she goes up there, and her like, you know, like rear kind of gets towards it, and it sucks out all of her lower intestines.
Oh my god.
So she was like a little kid, like I think like 6 around there, and was taken to the hospital. Ended up being fine, and she was like 14, and her like I mean, her growth was severely stunted. Like she had to be in a chair and stuff. All of her food has to be like pureed, basically.
Well, I mean, she got her
And I
intestines
think
sucked out.
yeah, I think she has to have it through a tube that's connected to her. But she seemed to be living life, and believe it or not, she like swims.
Wow.
Like she just stays in the shallow end away from the vents, but
See,
she just
I
hangs
never
out and
thought that
swims.
those like filters were strong enough to do that because all that
It
does
was
is
at
it,
a public pool.
yeah. Usually those types of filters they just like circulate the pool, kind of make like a small whirlpool to make everything rotate around so that like any debris or bugs, they rotate around the pool slightly and then they just kind of get sucked into that. But like, it's usually like a lower pressure. That's weird.
Yeah, it's like I said, thankfully in the end she's like chilling and perfectly fine. Because imagine being a kid at that public pool, man. You're just chilling, swimming. You dunk your head under the water, opening your eyes in the chlorine water. Your eyes are on fire. They're burning. They're stinging. They're red. And you look up, and all of a sudden, now the water's red, just like your eyes.
Yeah.
And then like you just hear screaming, this kid being carried away. That'd be, I don't know, man. I don't think I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
I
that's
saw. I'm
messed
pretty
up.
sure I saw somebody die in front of me at a Walmart. I was leaving, and this guy ended up just falling over and having a seizure, and then just stopped responding while the like an ambulance pulled up. And this all happened in, like 4 minutes, and picked him up and took him away. And I'm pretty sure, like, I mean, he wasn't responsive for like 2 minutes, and they were doing CPR. So, you know, hopefully he's fine. Or
Luckily,
she's
I don't
fine.
think
I
I've
didn't
ever
realize.
seen somebody die well in person. I've never seen somebody die in person, but I've seen a lot of people die online.
Yeah, there's a theory that people are becoming desensitized to death now because of how prevalent it is on the internet.
It doesn't
Because you can
surprise
just
me.
see it whenever you want. Just like us seeing it on the TV show Thousand Ways to Die, number 245, Rocky Roadkill. Rocky Roadkill is about a drug dealer named Salvador. He's driving around in an ice cream truck, but you guessed it, if you did guess anything at all. If a drug dealer's driving around in an ice cream truck, he's actually selling drugs instead of ice cream. And it's not to kids, thankfully, it's to full grown adults. He was known for giving businessmen their lunchtime Coke. The hardcore junkies would also get their fix there. And of course, the local neighborhood, like Jumpy Meth Head. Um, One day he actually had a deal with one of the Jumpy Meth Heads. And, you know, he was like fumbling around, pulled out the money, and went to give it to him. Sal, short for Salvador, was like, okay, you know what? Here, I'll take your money. Just give me a second. Let me go get the goods. And while he turned away, the meth head pulls out a gun and is like, give me all your stuff, and is ready to shoot him. Sal gets in the driver's seat and starts driving away. While he's driving away, he hits a curb, and the freezer, the like little container obviously to store the ice cream in to keep it cold, knocks over and leaks refrigerant, which is an odorless gas. Um, he doesn't actually notice it leaking in the truck because it's odorless. How are you going to notice it? He didn't really hear anything, and he starts getting dizzy. It's starting to, lose motor function. It's harder to do things while he's driving. All of a sudden, he just ends up getting knocked out. When he gets knocked out, he ends up running into a tree going 50 miles per hour, and ended up rupturing his aortic valve inside of his heart. So, Sal did not get the sweet end of the deal.
Oh, pun intended.
Pun intended, and I hope it hurt. Hopefully not as bad as what happened to Jim and death number 404, straight to DV dead. Jim is a British captain in 1775 who was in a duel with an American patriot. And, they were ready to start off the duel, and then the director said cut. Jim and the American patriot, his name was Samuel, were actually actors in a low-cut budget movie, and Jim actually hated Samuel. Why did Jim hate Samuel? Well, it looks like the American patriot was a lead role, and Jim did not get that role because he's actually a terrible actor, and the show even said so. They're like, he's just not a good actor. But you know what? He could still be the British captain. While they're waiting in between scenes, both Jim and Samuel go ahead and start loading up their prop muskets. I guess they have fake bullets in there where they put gunpowder in them anyways, and they're planning to shoot them at each other. But Jim, who actually had a very large criminal history record and was a little bit off the edge, decided to load a real bullet inside of the musket. So when that way the scene started, the duel happened, they shot each other. Samuel was actually going to die, and it was going to look like an accident on the scene, which I'm pretty sure there was a real case about that a couple years ago. His name was like Alex or something, where he shot a pistol and ended up being a real pistol. And I think he went to jail over it recently. But he goes ahead, turns around, fires the real lead ball into Samuel, and all of a sudden the gun explodes. Why did the gun explode? Because Jim actually loaded too much gunpowder inside of the musket, making a grenade essentially. And when he pulled the trigger, it blew up on him, and his hands just kind of were gone. It was just a stump of human. And it actually had shrapnel that flew off, and it severed Jim's femoral artery, causing him to bleed out. So, in case you're in a low-cut budget movie, or maybe a regular budget movie, I don't know how acting works, I'm not an actor, don't put too much gunpowder in. Actually, don't use real materials, just use the real prop stuff. Don't do anything out of revenge. But if you did do that because, you're messed up and you're just going to do it anyways. But this is theoretically, because I'm not telling you to do it, even though it'd be really cool, and I think you'd be really cool for it, and you go down in history for it, but you shouldn't do it because that's a terrible thing to do. Don't put too much gunpowder into it.
Maybe it's best if you just don't do any of that at all.
Yeah, just don't ever leave the house and just curl up inside of a ball.
Yeah, haven't you ever seen Lonely Island's video YOLO?
I have not.
Shoot.
Is he gonna be my role model?
No, it's just you gotta just like wear a padded vest inside your room and build like a bomb shelter in your house, because like outside's dangerous. You only live once.
Yep, and make sure that you're wearing a hazmat suit and you have all your food delivered to you, and that way you can't die from anything until your hazmat suit, I guess, gets really hot and melted, or it just gets really gross and bacteria grows inside of it because you never washed it, and then you die from a bacterial infection. Welcome to 1,000 Ways to Die. So yeah, that's everything that I had that I wanted to cover over it. I had a lot of fun. Oh, you know what? Actually, one last thing. I want to give a special shout out to the people that they would have talk on the show. They would have zoologists, they would have doctors, they'd have special surgeons, all different sorts of people that were educated on the case actually talk about the specific death as well. And I love the Doctor so much because the Rocky Roadkill where Sal, ended up having his aortic valve ruptured, the Doctor literally was like, yeah, so he had his aortic valve ruptured, which is a part of his heart, and because a part of his heart was damaged and he had blood loss, he died from blood loss and heart failure. And I'm like, huh, I didn't think that if your heart was punctured and if you had loss of blood that you would die. Back to 10 Ask Anyone, where the wood goes through the rectum. They're like, yeah, so it essentially punctured him, causing bleeding and a stool to leak inside of him, and he ended up dying from blood loss and his stool leaking inside of him. And I was like, thank you. I didn't understand that was the scenario. I didn't realize that I was mentally incapable of processing the episode whatsoever. But I appreciate it. They had one where it was the zoologist talking about the snake poison that Larry ended up drinking, and he was like, yeah, he must have had an open wound or something for the snake venom to just immediately enter his body and just kill him so quickly. And I was like, this is so specific, because you were just talking about drinking venom, but now for it to kill him so quick, he has to have an open mouth, cut in his mouth. And by the way, speaking of open cut in the mouth, have you ever eaten a chip? My experience, barbecue chips, and it just ends up cutting your mouth. They used to cut my tonsils all the time when I eat barbecue chips.
Dude, I dip.
Oh.
Yeah, I know a thing or two about your gums and mouth getting shredded. Believe me.
Yeah, so it's a good time. It's very painful, especially when the chip is just stuck in the back of your throat on your tonsil and you can't move it either. So it's cut and it's just sitting there, and it just reminds you of your dad, and it just makes you sad because you just can't get rid of it, even though it hurts you.
Even though it was bad, and it wasn't rad, and it wasn't a fad.
His name's Brad. He's not even my real dad. He's my stepdad.
Named Brad, and he's bad.
But yeah, CH, do you have anything that you wanted else to, or do you have anything that you wanted to add on to this?
Ah! Do you want to shout out Straps? And say thank you for him giving us a shout out?
Yeah, that's fine. I was thinking about that as well.
All right. Ah! I just wanted to say thank you to our friend Straps. Hang on. I gotta get his last name. It's some German shit. Ah! I just wanted to...
Schlesinger or something?
Schlesinger. I'm gonna fucking butcher that. Ah! I just wanted to give a special thanks to our friends Straps Schlesinger. I hope I'm saying that right. For shouting us out. Thank you. You're the man.
Yeah, he's a big Halloween enthusiast. He loves haunted houses. He's actually a local friend of mine. I actually am his coworker as well. And he's big in the haunted industry. His name is Straps. Check him out on Facebook. He's phenomenal in the work that he does. Very passionate about it. And he's been super encouraging and real, just happy and just real on top of helping me figure out what to do for the podcast, giving me feedback. He looks forward to listening to it while he works, and he just always has a smile on his face when we're talking about it. So thank you, Straps. We appreciate you.
Yeah, especially
for shouting us out.
Especially when you do this type of thing, it's kind of I wouldn't really say it's discouraging, but it takes a lot of mental fortitude to get on here and record and edit and do this type of stuff. You get burnout and stuff. So hearing people give feedback and hear that they're actually enjoying it, that is a breath of fresh air to content creators and people who do stuff like this, because it helps remind you what you're doing it for. We're here to entertain and inform and have a good time. So hearing people say that they enjoy it, it means the world to us. It really does.
Yeah, so once again, shout out to Straps. Thank you. And shout out to everybody else listening to the podcast.
We will post
Share it
a
to
link.
all your friends.
We will post a link to Straps' Facebook in the description.
Yep, and I think that wraps up today's episode. I'm Crimson.
And I'm CH. Thank you for listening to the After Dark podcast. See you, everybody.
Goodbye.